it's Lou Collins. This week I have a template for you that's free for you to download on Craft World, but it's a little bit different because it's not one that I'm going to be gluing onto my cardstock. I'm actually going to be doing some measuring, which is unusual for me. So this particular template came in Creative Stamping issue 117. So it's to make a lovely gift box which has an aperture in the front, perfect for sweeties, if you're gifting something where you want someone to see what's inside. Now I'm going to be going by the measurements on here. I'm going to work through it with you. So grab your cardstock, your trimmer, your adhesive, all your basic tools. I've got a crocodile because I know that I'm going to be needing to cut some holes for some string, twine, ribbon. I've got some twine. I've got the base here. I am going to be adding a mat over the front of this, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to be adding that. And you're also going to be needing some circle dies as well to cut out an aperture. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do, of course, is make sure we've got a piece of cardstock large enough. So obviously a mat with grid lines on, or of course a good sized ruler is absolutely essential. So the measurements are going to be, you've got 4 inches and 1.5 inches for each half. So you've got 5.5 inches, so that makes that 11 inches, and then you need a small tab. Now that means that an A4 piece of cardstock is just about perfect for this. So absolutely brilliant. You know, no need to cut down my A4 cardstock in width. Height wise, we have 6 inches for the main body of the bag. We have another 1.5 inches, so that makes that 7.5 inches. And then we have this tab which doesn't have a measurement on it because it's variable. You can have it longer or shorter. So that's 7.5 inches plus some. And if I measure a piece of A4 cardstock, I've actually got 7.5 inches plus a little tab. So there we go. Perfect. I can use my A4 piece of cardstock. So let's get started with the measuring. I'm going to measure from this side back. So the first piece I need is 4 inches. Let's bring in my trimmer because this will be easier than marking it and then trimming it. So we're going to do, this is 4 inches across. So let's put this at 4 inches, and I'm going to be scoring here to start with. Then I need to score 3.25 inches and 3.25 inches. So, or sorry, 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch, not 3.25. There and there. So that takes us to 5.5 inches. Then we need to do an additional 4 inches. So from 5.5, that would take us to 9.5. There we go. And then we're again going to do our 3/4. So 3/4 there, another 3/4 of an inch will take us to 11, and that leaves us with a tab at the end. So if I just turn this round, we've done our first 4 inches, 3/4, 3/4, 4 inches, 3/4, 3/4, and a tab at the end. I'm actually going to take a pencil and just write on here tab, just so that I remember. Now from the base up, so this is the bottom, I need to, let's do it this way, I need to measure 1.5 inches. There we go, so pop that into there, and I'm using the scoreboard, or rather the trimmer from Creative Craft Products with the scoring tool to create my lines. So I've just done, if I just turn this way, so you can see the tab is that end. I've just done the 1.5 inch mark here at the bottom, and then it's 6 inches, so that will make it 1.5 and 6 is 7.5. So I'll bring this along to 7.5. And you can actually, if you want to, you can drop this down. This, you can vary this if you want to. I think I might bring it slightly lower so that our tab can fold over a little bit more. There we go. So that one's a bit variable if you wish it to be. Okay. Now I just need to follow the cut lines. So I'm going to take my trimmer away, and I'm going to take a smaller pair of scissors rather than my large ones. and we need to cut away this bottom corner. And while we're here, we also need to cut the slope into this tab as well. There you go. Then we need to cut into this one here. So that's a solid line on our template, so that's a cut line. We also have cut lines here and here. So hopefully you can see that. Okay. Then we need to take away this section, so most of the top except for the piece that will fold over all the way along across the side panels and then down here. Okay, and then we also need to take out this section here, and at the same time I'm just going to angle this tab while I'm here too. So take out this corner. So this template is really easy to follow. There we go. Okay, so we've now got the back, the front, the two side pieces, the tab, and these are the base pieces as well. And this will go over the top, nice and easy. Okay, so this is where I'd like to now create my mat and layer for the front, because I think this is better to do, well I know it is better to do while everything's laid flat. So I've got a lovely piece of pattern cardstock here that matches beautifully with this coral colour that I've got, and I'm just going to line this up and cut myself. So let's take a pencil, just mark a mat here. Now you can do it because this is 6 inches by 4 inches, so you could cut yourself a panel if you wish that was maybe 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, or you can do it like myself and I just do it by eye, like so. You'll see in a minute why I want to cut this piece first. So let's just see, where are my lines? I believe that is a line there. So this is a cut, not a score this time. And another one I know fell just in the green there, so it's a little bit harder to see, like so. You can of course also at this stage line the inside of your bag if you want to with pattern paper. So that's going to sit onto the front of our bag like so, beautiful. But this is why I need to do this stage now. I'm going to take my aperture. I want to put my aperture on now, decide what size that's going to be. It depends what solid circle. So I've got a scalloped circle one here. If I've got a solid circle that fits nicely inside this, that might be a little bit big. Is that even larger? I think that is. So let's see what other sizes I've got. Oh, I've got one here that would sit very nicely inside this one, I believe. There we go. So matching up my scallops and my straight edge circles that I have to hand. So in the top here, I'm going to bear in mind that this tab at the front is going to be coming down here. I then want to place my scalloped circle onto my pattern paper and die cut this. So I can use quite a small die cutting machine for this stage, but when we cut into the base we are going to need to go and use the larger machine, so an A4 format. There we go. If you want to cut a circle by hand, by all means, but if you do want to add a piece here to go over the top, so your mat and lay, your pattern paper, definitely do it this way round. Do the pattern paper first. The reason being is that I'd like a nice border. Gently remove that. So I'd like this to sit just central there, and then the slightly smaller circle will go in there. Line that up, stick that down where it needs to be. Okay, and what that will mean is that on the front of our bag we'll have the lovely coral border around the outside of this, but we'll also have a nice even coral border on the inside as well. That's really hard to line up if you cut this section first and then try to create a mat to sit over the top, so definitely do it this way round. Now I'm just going to take this off over to my larger die cutting machine and cut this circle out before we construct the bag. There we go. So now I've got my small circle, and if you are clever you'll save these two pieces because they would work beautifully on a card or maybe another little gift tag on something to match. So keep those two together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adhere this on here now, just so that I remember where the front of the bag is. There we go, and there you can see we've got that lovely even border around the centre that you haven't had to worry about measuring and trying to line up by doing that top layer first. Lovely. Okay, so now we can construct the rest of the bag, and for this I definitely recommend you use a strong glue, or if you've got it, a red line tape. So let's do some folds now. If you bring the front of your bag towards you, you'll want to fold the first score line, which is at 4 inches forwards, so that's then a mountain fold. Then you want a concertina, so the next one's going to be a valley fold, and the next one again a mountain fold. So you've created the edge of your bag like so, and then we're going to do the same with the other side. So both sides will be the same. This tab is a little more fiddly because it's smaller, but we get there. There we go. So squash everything together, that concertina zigzag style, and then what you'll see then is that will come round and join the tab like so. Before we do that, let's create the base. So the two side pieces, these smaller tabs, can come in first, and we're going to tuck the base down. So give this a good fold first. Burnish it if you need to get that really strong crease, and let's get our tape on. So we're going to need tape on the edges of here. Definitely recommend keeping a pair of scissors just for tape, and also a pokey tool for lifting up the back of the tape as well. It's all very well trying to do it with your nails, but it doesn't always work like that. So I've gone around the edges of there. I'm also going to put some tape, because this is going to go over the top of these two tabs, so I'm going to put some tape just on this end. You can do a dry run if you wish to work out where your tape needs to be. There's no real rule, you just don't want to be sticking it to something it shouldn't be stuck to. And then I'm just going to finish off with the base piece, which I always have the front tab, which then bends round to the back underneath as the front, because then you get a nice smooth finish on the front crease rather than a join. And these will go completely across. So let's remove all of these. You might want to just remove a couple at a time, but it's easier while the cardstock's flat to do this part. And then the two side pieces here too. One. Let's just get your pokey tool under there. Try to make sure the sticky stays down and the backing comes up. It's always the easiest with any tape. There we go. I think I've got it now. There. Okay, so keeping this top one out of the way for now, let's bend the sides over. In fact, actually, before I go ahead, I'm just going to apply some tape also to this tab, which I forgot about. Finish that down and pick that up there as well. So again, keep this out of the way for now. So we're going to fold these sides in, and we're going to attach this back piece onto the two sides first of all. Then we're going to come round. You can do the tab now if you wish. Line everything up. Just don't press it down until you're sure it's in the right place, and then fold the base over. There we go. So then we've got our box, and we can squeeze those edges. So they'll just squeeze together at the top. The bottoms will remain flat for the base. It's nice and sturdy. It's like 4 layers of cardstock there, so those corners are nice and strong. And then this bit will fold over the top, and you can see you've got your lovely aperture in the middle. Now the closure for this are some holes, which are shown here, and they show you can do them at 3/4 of an inch, but depending on how deep you made this. I don't know if you remember when I scored or trimmed out my card, I actually made this bit a bit wider, which made the bag a little bit shorter. That's your option. You can make this as deep as you want it to be, but of course that will shorten the length of the bag. So you might not always want to follow this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a hole punch, which I have here, my crocodile. I'm going to put it, making sure I'm not punching into anything else around the card, and I'm going to aim for, I suppose it is around about 3/4 of an inch, both inside and down into the tab, and the same on this side. You can measure this if you prefer. I'm kind of doing it by eye, which is just me. There we go. So I've got those two. I'm going to fold these over. I'm going to take a pencil and then, oops, draw through here as well. Let's see if I can just erase that scribble that I just did. The erasers on these aren't always the best. So let's take a bigger one. I find the pencil erasers aren't always brilliant. There we go. So now I've drawn 2 pencil circles. I need to carefully take my crocodile inside and just punch into those holes. So I'm not able to really show you what I'm doing here, but hopefully if you've got a hole punch you can do this. If you don't have a hole punch, something like a pokey tool with a foam mat underneath will create the holes for you. So then we need to take some twine, and you're going to need quite a bit of twine here. I'm going to go through the front of one. Again, I'm keeping it on the reel until I know how much I need. Just retwist that, a hole punch if need be. There we go. Okay, so I've got some nice long bits. What I'm going to do is just bring this so they're the same length. There we go. And then what you'll do is you'll pop your gift, your sweetie, inside the bag. If you want to, you can of course put an acetate backing in there. It depends whether your sweeties are going in maybe with inside a bag. If they're not going in inside a bag, then you'll of course need to be thinking about putting something in there. This could also be a shaker if you wanted it to be too, so you could put yourself a shaker panel behind there and have that see-through instead. Once you've filled it, then it's time to close it. There we go, and then tie the front down just to finish this off. If you want to add yourself a little note tag, as I said, those circles that we cut out would be really lovely to add here. So we've got these. If you want to create yourself a tag and add them on, this is the perfect time to do it, and you can attach that to there also, or even onto the back with a little message if you want. So there we go. So we've got a lovely little gift bag, really easy to put together and make using the template from Creative Stamping issue 117, but you can download this for free on Craft World. Go and find that, and please do share with us your makes in the inspiration gallery.